Oh, whoop, no. That's this. Hold on. Let's do this. The hell? I don't even know how to work any of my lights. That ring light's too bright. I don't think I need it. Do I need the ring light? Oh my god, what a disaster area. This whole setup is a disaster. All right, forget that. Turn it off. I don't need it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tmps Nightcap. I'm not having music tonight because I've gone Facebook Live. If you're watching Facebook Live, go over to YouTube. Go to tmpspodcast.com. Scroll down to the Tmps Nightcap picture. Click on the picture. It'll take you over to my YouTube channel. I am now live tonight. I wasn't going to go live. Didn't even plan on it. I'm not even wearing my suit or anything. But I was sitting here watching the Alec Baldwin shooting interrogations or questioning by, well, they're not really interrogations per se. I guess they kind of are. Questioning by police detectives when Alec Baldwin on the set of the movie Rust shot and killed a woman. Obviously not intentionally, but that's what happened. If you haven't heard about this, it happened in October 21st, actually. Alec Baldwin was rehearsing drawing a gun from his coat in a scene, and it was a rehearsal. They were not filming. It should have been a cold gun. Unfortunately, when he pulled the gun and drew back the hammer, the gun went off. A bullet went through the cinematographer or director of photography, through her, killing her, and then into the shoulder of the director, wounding him. And like I said, she died, and he was wounded but survived. So obviously they questioned the armorer. So if a movie has guns in it, there is someone who is in charge of those guns. Someone who was in charge of loading them with the fake rounds and the blanks and the dummies, and I'll get into that. Who's in charge of cleaning the firearms, showing them to the actors, and just taking care of all the firearms on the set. Obviously, listen, I'm a big shooter. Even though I only shoot clay pigeons, I'm still shooting real guns. And if I pointed my shotgun at you with a sporting clay round, meaning a shell that's meant to shoot clay discs instead of actual ducks or birds, I'm still going to kill you. Yes, the shell is not meant to kill an animal. It's only meant to break a clay disc, but it's still going to kill you. So safety is paramount when you are handling guns under any circumstance. It doesn't matter. And this, obviously, guys, have you seen a movie lately? All these liberal Hollywood actors, including Alec Baldwin, are anti-gun. But in every one of their movies, guns, because that's what sells. That's what people want to see. That's what people like. So I follow this YouTube channel called Crime Circus with Drip Drop. The guy's name is Drip Drop. He has a YouTube channel called Crime Circus where he gets exclusive content, interrogations, really top-notch stuff. Go check it out, Crime Circus. So he has the questioning of Hannah Gutierrez, who was the armorer for this movie Rust, and then obviously Alec Baldwin. So Hannah Gutierrez, born in 1997, 24 years old, and the daughter of a very famous armorer, Hollywood armorer, gun guy for movies, as Alec Baldwin puts it. She's only 24 years old, but she's been around this business her whole life. Now, does that make her qualified? Not necessarily, my father was a doctor and I spent time with him in the hospital, but you wouldn't want me to be your doctor because I'm not one. I didn't go to school for it. And if you put me in an OR, I'm not going to know what to do. However, this is guns, not surgery. But surgery can kill people, and so can guns. So at the end of the day, was she qualified? Who really knows? But she got the job on Rust, this movie with Alec Baldwin. It was an indie film. It was a smaller film, lower budget. So maybe her being young, maybe that fit their budget. She is the daughter of a very famous armorer. Yeah, he along with Bob Costas. Okay. Jason's watching the show tonight. Again, I was not going to do one, but when I saw these interrogations, now there are 3 interrogations. I hit the pecker list. Yeah, seriously. I watched the first one of Hannah Gutierrez. I watched the one with Alec Baldwin, and there is a second one with Hannah Gutierrez. I only watched like the first half. So I'm going to be able to talk in depth about the first 2 and then a little bit about the second one with Miss Gutierrez. So if you think she has spent time shadowing her father, assisting her father, this is not her first movie as the head armorer. She has done it before. However, at only 24 years old. Now, here's the deal. We're never going to see this film. It's like a Western. You know, maybe this person could have handled it. You know, maybe there weren't 1,000 guns, and maybe it was a good movie to cut your teeth on and get some credits. You know what I mean? An indie film, you're young, Alec Baldwin, help build that armorer resume. But at the end of the day, someone died, and she was in charge of the guns. And I hate to say, well, whose fault was it? Because you want to know something? I'm not sure wherever. I just remembered something from the second Hannah Gutierrez interrogation. I'm not sure if really there is someone to blame. Hannah, during the first interrogation, does say she wishes she checked the gun more, or maybe again, or double or triple check. My mom always taught me double, triple, quadruple check. Check as many times as it takes until you're confident in something. And both of my parents were in the medical field. My mother was a hospital pharmacist, and they'd make these IV bags, right? Let's say an IV needed 10 milliliters per unit of a drug. What I just said could be completely wrong, but let's just go with it. I'm not a medical guy. 10 milliliters per unit or something. Well, she gets this bag. So the pharmacy tech makes the bag, the IV bag. Then before it goes up to the unit, my mother checks it. Well, it's 1,000, not 10, but 1,000 milliliters per unit. That would have killed that patient. So you double check. Wait, this is 1,000 ml. The prescription's 10 ml per unit. 1,000, 10. Boom, you cut the bag open, spill it out, and start over. If that bag went up to the patient, that patient would have died. So as an armorer for a movie, do you double, triple, quadruple check that you're handing an act? Now, this was a rehearsal. And Alec Baldwin says in his interrogation or his questioning that during rehearsals, usually the gun is empty. There's no reason to have any, even if they're fake, even if they're dummies, even if they're just these, and I'll discuss these like dummy rounds that are for cosmetic purposes only. So these like dummy rounds are just for show. So if you have a revolver, right? If a revolver is facing a camera, you can see in the 6 holes, right? 6 slots, you can see that, whether they're empty or there's bullets in there. So they have these dummy rounds that are purely cosmetic. They look like real bullets just for the camera. And then they have what are called blanks or Alec Baldwin calls them flash loads, and those actually make a sound. Now, nothing comes out, there's no bullet or projectile, but they make a sound and a flash like you're firing. So that's more for when you're actually pulling the trigger, like you're shooting the gun. But if you're holding the gun to the camera, you say, "God damn it, partner, I'm going to shoot you in the face," or something like that. And as the person in the audience seeing the big screen, you can see that there are bullets in there. Because if it's empty, that looks fake, right? Those are called dummy rounds. There's nothing going on with those. They're completely, the issue, one of the issues is these are real guns. I know a movie armorer. And he takes real firearms and turns them into movie props. And usually what you do is you actually take the pin out. So I don't know if you know this, but when you pull the trigger, a pin shoots out, hits the primer. The primer's at the bottom of the bullet. That ignites the gunpowder, which shoots the bullet. However, when you have flash rounds, I'm assuming you need that pin to ignite the flash. Now, when you use a dummy round, I'm assuming that there's no gunpowder. They said there's actually a hole at the bottom of the bullet where you can see inside and see there's no gunpowder. But let's get it. So we have Hannah Gutierrez, all of 24 years old, working on an indie film with Alec Baldwin. Her father is a famous Hollywood armorer who's been working for decades. Okay, and this is so interesting. At the beginning of the interrogation, and they say, they read her rights, right? And they say, "Do you want a lawyer?" She goes, "I think I need a lawyer." She goes, "I don't want anything messed up in my case. I really think I need a lawyer." And the cops, and not even the cop, well, okay. Well, if you want a lawyer, that's going to take some time and you won't be able to answer questions for us. But, if you want to answer questions right now, you'd have to waive your right. They always kind of, and she goes, "Oh, God, I feel like I need a lawyer, but I guess I can answer some questions." And by the end of the conversation, she goes, "Yeah, I'll answer some questions." And in my mind, it's like, the moment you ask for a lawyer, that should be it. But the cops kind of keep, and these are two female detectives. I just want to throw that out there. Not that it really matters, but it's two female detectives talking to a young woman, 24. And then those two same female detectives talk to Alec Baldwin, a 60-some-year-old man. It's interesting. They're two female detectives. I watch a lot of interrogations. It's usually two guys. Sometimes a man and a woman. I've never seen an interrogation with two women detectives. So regardless, even though she asks for a lawyer, the cops get her to ask for a lawyer, to then saying, "Forget it, I'll agree to asking questions, or to responding to answering questions." But to my mind, if I was her lawyer, I'd be like, "Listen, nothing in this interrogation can be used. I know my client agreed to answer questions, but she obviously knew she needed an attorney. These cops, basically figured out a way to, get her to talk, whatever. But you know what? I'm not a lawyer. I watch a lot of interrogations, but that doesn't make me a lawyer. I watch a lot of movies with guns, but that doesn't make me an actor or an armorer." So she had only been on set for 2 weeks. Okay. And in this interrogation, she says that being the armorer was her primary job on the movie. However, in her second interrogation, she goes on and on about how her job was actually linked with props, and that they told her to start focusing on props more, that's where she was really needed. Now, obviously, a gun is a prop, but a gun can kill someone. Like, that's a whole different level. Like, the armorer is a specialty within the props department. It's its own deal. And I found that really interesting, that in the second interrogation, she had a lawyer. She was also dressed really nice. In the first interrogation, her hair was green. In the second interrogation, she had what looked more like her natural hair color. So obviously the lawyer was like, look good or whatever. Or maybe that green was just, wash out a couple days. I don't know really. But then I haven't watched that full interrogation. I think Crime Circus, I think, only has like the first half or something. But she definitely did get a lawyer. And she was looking real smart. And she was really kind of skirting around the fact, that I don't want to say she was skirting around the fact that she was the armorer. She definitely was. And I believe that's what she was hired for. But it seems like in the second interrogation, I think what she's trying to do is maybe push a little blame onto the production, saying, hey, listen, you hired me as the armorer, but then you told me to start focusing on props. And because I couldn't focus 100% of my attention on being an armorer, that, a bullet might have, we'll get into that, maybe there was a mistake with the gun that I handed to Alec Baldwin, because now I'm more worried about filling people's glasses and getting their jackets on. So the second interrogation, she starts going deeper. Obviously, she's talked to a lawyer. So lawyers are lawyers. They're going to do all that. So she had a couple assistants. One name was Sarah, and Alec Baldwin. She said, I'm changing up some baby croc straps on my Cuervos. Wow. That I don't think that sentence has ever been said on a live broadcast, podcast, radio show, news, ever. I don't think that sentence has ever been broadcast over the internet airwaves. I'm changing up some baby croc straps on my Cuervos. Cuervos plural. There's not just one. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those who may not know, Jason and I are big watch fans, and we're starting to put out watch content. I made a couple videos lately. I have another one coming down the pike. But him and I want to start doing some video watch content. And Cuervo y Sobrinos is a Cuban watch manufacturer via Switzerland. They're gorgeous timepieces, very unique. I have one. Jason, I believe, has two or three. And crocodile straps, obviously. There's metal bracelets, there's leather straps, and if you really want to be fancy, you get baby crocodile. Oh, wow. Not just crocodile, but baby crocodile. We all love baby crocs. Wow, Jason, that's fancy. So if you go on my YouTube, obviously you're watching, oh my God, dude, we should get some Stingray straps. If you go on my YouTube, I recently purchased a Cartier Santos. I think that needs a blue Stingray strap. 100%. Can you imagine if I got a Stingray strap for that watch? Oh, that would be next level shit. I mean, people would stop. I would walk into a place and there would just be like someone important has just walked in because he has a Stingray strap on his Cartier Santos. So the point of mentioning Sarah is that Hannah was not alone in handling these firearms. There were other people involved. Alec Baldwin, I believe, says that she had at least two assistants. Okay. But there was someone named Sarah that's mentioned by Hannah, who also, I'm assuming she was in props or something. It basically sounds like armorer and props got all put together. And that maybe Hannah feels that because she was kind of brought into the prop world, that her armorer duties became not 100% of her attention. That's what it kind of sounds like here. So I did mention there are dummy rounds that are just for show. They're cosmetic rounds, and there are blanks. And blanks do have a sound and a bit of a powder flash, but nothing actually, there's no bullet. Okay, and that's when they actually fire the gun for the camera, for sound, etc. Dummy rounds are for rehearsals and for just when the audience needs to feel like there's real bullets in the gun. Remember, this is a revolver, not a pistol. Not like not like a Glock, like 9mm. Like a revolver has that wheel where you can actually see the bullets if you're looking right at it. Okay. So no live ammo is ever kept on the set, which makes sense for any movie, anytime, any era. However, we're going to find out, as I said, something went through the cinematographer, and because only one shot was fired, but two people were hit, which means the bullet went through the cinematographer and into the shoulder of the director. And what they took out was a bullet, was an actual live bullet. So there was an actual live round in that gun, a real 45. It was a Colt. It was a period Colt, long barrel Colt, 45 caliber. A real 45 caliber bullet was taken out of that director's shoulder. So somehow, through all of this, a real round was put in that gun. And it was not only put in that gun, but happened to be put in the position of being the first bullet fired of the 6 in the cylinder. I mean, this is one of those things where it's a shit show. It's a cluster F. It all just, I mean, the police asked everyone if they have to. Could this be intentional? Because the day before this happened, I believe 6 people of the camera crew, via a union dispute, left the set and quit and/or were fired. So the police are like, these 6 guys were upset. There was a union dispute, even though the union dispute was with the major filmmakers, and this was an indie film, and they were told, Alec Baldwin tells the police that these men were told to stay on the job. This union dispute did not pertain to them. It only pertained to the major studios. This is an independent film. Stay at work. But they decided they were still going to leave and strike. So the police are like, could one of these guys in retaliation intentionally put a 45 caliber real bullet right where it was going to be shot as soon as... So Alec Baldwin says that when he took the gun out, he pulled back the hammer, he cocked the gun, and it went off. Now, he didn't feel any recoil, he says. Now, I just did the recoil movement out of just habit, but he felt no recoil. Some other notes is, no live ammo ever kept on set. They always check for stuff in the barrel. So apparently, famously, Brandon Lee died during the filming of The Crow because he wasn't hit by a bullet. Apparently, there was something lodged in the barrel, and that hit him and killed him. So now, and they should do this anyway. I mean, I do this when I go shooting. I look down the, because so shotguns come apart, right? And you have the barrel. It's not even attached to the receiver. So the only way to kill someone with a shotgun barrel is to whack them over the head with it. You can't. So you just look down and make sure there's nothing going on, like in the barrel, because you can ruin it, or it could just, literally, it could just make you miss a bird because the BBs get all screwed up because they hit debris on the way out. So they look through the barrels to make sure that there's no rocks or any kind of dirt or debris in there. So even if a fake round goes off, it's still going to push through. Even though there's no bullet, there's still energy going through the gun. And I believe that's what a projectile actually killed Bruce Lee. So Alec Baldwin is like, what was in the shoulder of the director? Was it a rock? Well, no, it turned out to be an actual bullet. So those dummy rounds actually rattle. And they rattle to let you know that it's not a real bullet. And then, like I said, there's holes in the brass, so you see that there's no gunpowder. This is an interesting thing. Hannah had a fanny pack where she commingled. You know what, Jason? I got to tell you something. the fact that this live 45 bullet was in the cylinder that would have been shot first if he pulled the trigger or caught. Because, listen, I don't know much about handguns. I don't know why when you cock the hammer, when you pull back the hammer, it could fire the firearm. I think you still need to have your finger on the trigger. I don't really know. It is, Jay, it's too many coincidences. That is so weird that you have probably a fanny pack full of fake bullets, a armorer station full of fake bullets, movie bullets, but all of a sudden, right in the position of that gun, where if you pull the trigger, it's going to shoot, is a real 45 caliber bullet. I mean, that is incredible to me. So obviously, the police are like, do you think someone could get access to the gun to purposely do this? And Hannah, Alec Baldwin, everyone's like, that's just insane. Yeah, these cameramen had a union dispute, but does that mean that you try to get an actor, or I don't know, Alec Baldwin specifically, to accidentally shoot a gun? And even there's no guarantee it would hit anybody. I mean, so first off, Jason, it's like there's too many coincidences. It's too convenient. It's too weird. But also, why? It's really bizarre. So she said after the gun was fired, obviously, so like Alec Baldwin said, they were shooting inside a church, and it was a pretty tight scene. So only a few people were in the church, right? A Hollywood cover-up. Uh-oh. Hollywood loves their cover-ups. So now Hannah claims that she gave the gun to Dave, who I believe was the assistant director, the AD, and Dave handed Alec Baldwin the gun. Hey now, because it was a tight area, and when the scene, well, first off, we didn't understand something. This was a rehearsal. This was not an actual shooting scene. They were rehearsing, and Alec Baldwin said when they rehearse, they're either given an empty gun, no bullets whatsoever, whether they're dummy bullets or fake or blanks or flash rounds or whatever. It's just empty. They're only rehearsing, or they're given a gun with those dummy rounds that are for cosmetic reasons only, so they can see what the bullets look like with the camera. So when you and I are watching it, like I said, we can see that there are bullets in there, so it makes it look more real. So the gun goes off. She's getting yelled at, basically. And you know what's hysterical, Jay? Watch. I think I sent you the link. So they're talking to her, right? And she's asking where her fanny pack is. Well, the police have it. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out a bunch of dummy rounds and puts them on the table in front of the detectives. She pulls out a bunch of bullets out of her pants. I mean, I just thought it was so weird. Can you imagine being a detective? You've been questioning someone for a half hour. Oh, well, I have a bunch of dummy rounds in my pocket. And it's probably good because she can explain the difference between these dummy rounds, these flash rounds, and what a real bullet actually looks like. So during all of this, this is interesting. I made a note. Okay, so at one point they show her the bullet that was fired, and she said that did not look like a fake round. So you know how the police work. They're building layers. It's all coming together, right? It's all coming together. And then there's this guy named Seth. There's all these people involved. It's like a mystery. This guy named Seth is the guy who buys the ammo. He worked on The Walking Dead for 10 years. Who was the armorer for The Walking Dead for 10 years. He's like one of Hannah's teachers, him and her father. And Seth does all the buying. And you want to know something crazy? The movie that a lot of this ammo and stuff came from before this was from a Nicolas Cage movie. And it just kind of makes you wonder the crazy shit that happened on that set. Maybe Nick Cage was using real 45 ammo and it just got, you know. Listen, Jay, you're right. The amount of, it's like this real 45 got accidentally put in a pack. And that pack of dummy rounds with that real 45 made its way to the Rust set. And then the armorer happened to pick that box of dummy rounds with that real bullet in it. And that real bullet just happened to be placed. Oh, my ring light just shit the bed. Just happened to be placed in the exact spot. It's too much. It's too much. How could it all be by chance? How could it be just a coincidence? But this guy named Seth, he's the guy. She works under his license. He's the guy who buys all the fake bullets. He's the guy who supplies it. So he's the man behind the curtain. He's the Wizard of Oz, this Seth guy. And like I said, she said she handed it to Dave. Dave gave it to Mr. Baldwin. And then this is my favorite quote. She's like, getting a 45 round is stupid hard right now. You know, she was talking about the election and how it's hard to get ammo and like the fact that even if someone wanted to do this, it's hard to get a 45 round. And she's like, when I go shooting, I only shoot like 22. You know, so obviously, so I guess the point is she has this fanny pack full of bullets. And the point is, well, did you go shooting a real 45 with your fanny pack? And are you commingling real bullets with these fake movie bullets? And she also said that when they're rehearsing with dummy rounds and such, they're not supposed to pull the hammer back. That's basically what she also said that at the end of the interrogation, that when they're rehearsing and such, they're not supposed to pull the hammer back. And Alec Baldwin obviously says that he pulled the hammer back. So, you know, she's not expecting them to like do that. But Alec Baldwin says that he was told to do that. They wanted to see how it looked. And you can watch video. Go online. You can watch video of, now obviously I don't even know if they have the video, but they don't show him shooting the gun and the cinematographer dying and all that. But there's a video of him rehearsing. I don't think there's sound. I can't remember, but I watched it. He's in costume. The camera's moving around. You can see they're rehearsing and trying to get the shot together. You know. This is also interesting. When she was loading the gun for this rehearsal, for this scene, she said there was a bullet that didn't quite fit. So she cleaned the cylinder and then it fit. And the cops are wondering, was that the real bullet? Are the dummy bullets a little different? To me, though, if it's a 45, whether it's a dummy round or a real round, it should fit no problem. But she said after she cleaned it, it fit right in. And the police are wondering, was the one that didn't quite fit the magic bullet? Hey, now. Who knows? Let's move to Alec Baldwin's questioning. Something's fishy, Jay. Something's fishy. So Mr. Alec Baldwin is being questioned by the police. And you can watch this all on Crime Circus. Head over to Crime Circus on YouTube, a great channel for exclusive interrogations. Alec Baldwin said he opened with, "They always hand me a cold gun." And like I said, a cold gun is a gun with either dummy bullets, which have no gunpowder, cosmetic only, or they're completely empty. It's just for rehearsal. There's no real or fake bullets to be found in the gun. The gun's completely empty. He discussed the flash loads, the blank, as Hannah calls them, and they make a sound. They're more for the camera, so it sounds like they're firing a real bullet. In that, he said Hannah handles the guns 99% of the time. I did mention that Hannah had some assistants that Alec talks about. And he talks about he cocks the pistol, pulls back the hammer. Here's a bang, and then the cinematographer hits the ground and the director hits the ground. She is silent. He says her eyes are rolling in the back of her head, but the director was like screaming and like yelling. And he said everything's been done properly, professionally. They have never had a problem on this movie set. There's never been an issue. And he talks about how the fact that in his 75 films that he's been in his whole career, he has never seen anything like this. And that the fact they actually show him the picture of what they took out of the director's shoulder. And he goes, that is a real bullet. And that it's horrifying. The fact that a real bullet. Now, who knows? Maybe they found a whole box of real bullets. For all we know, the Seth guy sent them a box of real bullets and didn't even realize it. Maybe the whole gun was full of real bullets, though I don't think so. I think later they recognized that when they took the six casings out, 5 were the same. They were dummy rounds, but the one right in the chamber, that was a real 45 caliber bullet. Now, here's the thing. Remember, I said that Hannah said that before that rehearsal, she gave the gun to Dave. Dave gave the gun to Alec. Alec Baldwin says Hannah handed him the gun every time. And she would say, here's the gun. It's a cold gun. Do you want to check it? And he said he didn't want to insult her. They never had a problem. So he didn't check it. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're an actor out there in Hollywood and you're handling fake guns and an armorer says, check it, check it. Check every bullet. But again, this is a Hollywood actor. He's been in 75 films. He says it during the interrogation. I've made 75 films. Go look how many times Alec Baldwin has had guns in his movies. He's been around. This isn't like his second film. When an armorer says, here's a cold gun, he knows how to behave. So she says cold gun. Now, again, he says that she handed him the gun and said cold gun, or he doesn't really remember if she said cold gun specifically. She says Dave handed him the gun. So there we have a little bit of, I don't know. I kind of believe Alec Baldwin. And I don't know why. I kind of believe that because I think Hannah would be more inclined to lie and maybe try to pass blame on this Dave guy who she might think, well, why didn't he check the gun? Well, he's not the armorer. Though Alec Baldwin did say that sometimes Dave would check it. He was an assistant director, an AD. They're like the foreman, he said. They like run the crew. They run like the cameramen and the grips and everything. So Alec Baldwin, I believe, did say during his questioning that if Alec Baldwin said, no, I don't need to check it, Dave would sometimes check it as kind of like a check and balance with the armorer. Now, if you watch his interrogation, listen, guys, go and watch this stuff because I'm not going to mention every little detail. He kind of, because he has 2 female detectives there, right? Alec Baldwin kind of mansplains how movies are made. Now, and I understand that he wants to be as specific as possible, and I'm sure I do this as well, because I know I do it. I know I mansplain, but it's because I want to be clear, and I want to make sure that we fully understand or you fully understand what I'm talking about, that we're on the same page. But he like mansplains to these two female detectives like how movies are made, how the camera works and how rehearsals work and how cold gun, hot gun, and how this happens. And I've been in 75 films and I have 6 children now. I'm a family man. Like, we don't have any guns in the house. I have 6 children, this, that, and the other, and my wife. And it's very interesting. But he's a big Hollywood actor. So what do you expect? But like, when I'm listening to it, like, I'm out mansplaining women. You're just complaining that we think we're smarter. But like, when you listen to this is mansplaining. He's basically, he realizes, I know more than you, and I'm going to tell you how movies are made. He said, like I said, he felt no recoil, and he's not a gun guy. He's not a gun guy. He's not a gun guy, guys. He did mention the union stuff, how they were unhappy and they had a bad union deal. But guys, just because these guys had a bad union deal, and again, this union deal was purposely made bad to encourage movies to be made. I believe they were in Arizona or New Mexico. He mentions Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Are those in the same state? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was a bad union deal on purpose to convince movies to be made in that state. But who's at the ass end of that deal? The actual cameraman. But again, I can't imagine. First off, they talked about how these guns are locked up and they check them and this, that, and the other. So you have a disgruntled cameraman who was going to purposely put a 45 caliber bullet into a gun. Yeah, but I gotta tell you, it was directly where it needed to be shot. Oh man, dude, Jay, I'm going conspiracy theory on this. The more I talk about it, the more I think it's a conspiracy. This is the moon landing. Don't get Jason started on the moon landing. We went to the moon, Jason. We went to the moon. And then he goes, oh yeah, I said they show Alec Baldwin a picture of what came out of the shoulder. He goes, that's a real bullet. He was devastated. Absolutely devastated. The moon watch is based on a hoax. So for the watch collectors out there, the Omega Speedmaster, the moon watch, the watch that went to the moon, very famous timepiece. It's on both my list and Jason's list as a watch to own. We've actually skipped a step. We have beautiful Rolexes and Breitlings and Cuervos, and I just bought a Cartier, but neither of us have a moon watch. And usually a moon watch is like a stepping stone into the higher end. Well, not to say the moon watch is not a higher end watch, but you can go even that. Or, I would say a Rolex is better than an Omega. And when I say better, that's better is not a good word. I don't know how to describe it, but Omega is a phenomenal watchmaker, but Rolex, Cartier, I think it's a different tier. I would put Omega not in the same tier. I don't know how you feel about that, Jason, but let's just go by price point. Let's just go price out an Omega Speedmaster and then price out a Rolex Datejust, and you'll see what I'm talking about. A Rolex Datejust is twice as much, more than twice as much as an Omega Speedmaster. And I'm talking a class, not like a special edition. By precision, they are equals. Okay, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I'm not saying Rolex is a better watch. Yes, Rolex does use more precious metals. So the watch I bought today, this Cartier, is a phenomenal, classy, gorgeous timepiece. It's a timeless timepiece. but it was not half the price, but it was far less expensive than the Rolex because it uses no gold. Jay, is that all stainless steel? I didn't even look. I think it's all stainless steel, right? It's not like white gold or platinum or anything. It's all stainless steel. However, if that bracelet had gold in it, you're paying for the precious metal. So no, I agree with that. Is Rolex's movement twice as great? No. It's just my Rolex has a lot of gold, not fully gold, but it has gold, and the Cartier doesn't. So yeah, and I mean they're both extremely timeless, classy pieces. But that Cartier, oh, and Rolex is Rolex. I mean, Rolex. When you say Rolex, everyone knows what you're talking about. Everyone. Where I would argue, if you went on the street, asked 10 people what a Rolex is, they'll say it's a watch company. You say, what's an IWC? And they go, I don't know. What's an Omega? And they might say, I don't know. Well, Omega's like Olympics. Omega's like what? James Bond wears an Omega. I don't know why. Omega's a phenomenal watch. They should advertise more. Yeah, but Rolex is saying like Harvard or I don't know. It's Juilliard or it's like I don't know. It's like the brand, right? Omega's a phenomenal watchmaker. I don't know why they don't advertise more. So basically, Alec Baldwin learns that he shot a live round. He shot a real bullet. And that he rehearsed with a hot gun, not a cold gun. And his hands were in his head. He was very upset. Or his head was in his hands. He was very upset. We need to make our own watch. Jason, I've been thinking about it. Jason just said, I'm tired of not having my own watch brand. I completely agree. The fact that we don't have our own watch brand is upsetting, to be honest. It's disappointing. I don't know how I get up in the morning knowing that people aren't wearing my watch brand. I kind of think to myself, if I made a watch, if I designed a watch, I'm kind of wondering what it would look like. It would be a chronograph. I love subdials. I absolutely love, now not on every watch, obviously. There are watches like this Cartier doesn't have subdials, but it doesn't need it. It's beyond subdials. It's another level. The Rolex, no subdials on my Rolex. It's not, a subdial would ruin a Rolex in my opinion. Well, first off, okay, Daytonas and stuff. I'm talking about the one that I have. If you put a subdial on a Datejust, you've destroyed the watch. But there are obviously Rolexes with subdials, but it goes with that watch, right? It's designed to be on that watch, right? I'm thinking the first watch I would design would be a chronograph because that's my favorite. So I think what we should do, Jay, is we should say, okay, what are the different styles? Okay, dress watch, sport watch, chronograph, square, rectangle. Like we would pick, let's pick. Well, I think we should start with a classic round watch, and then start designing it from there. I gotta say, Jay, when I picked up my watch today, I was looking at those bronze case IWCs, and they are spectacular. They make these bronze case watches now, and they're just really great. And I'm just really they're a very unique look, a bronze case, very unique look. So, Alec Baldwin continues to mention during this interrogation that he has 6 children in 7 years, that he's 60 something years old. He wants to seem like a family man, like he wouldn't threaten his family by killing someone either on purpose or by accident. All this stuff. They actually laugh a couple times during the interrogation. I hate saying interrogation, but that's really like what it is. But during an interrogation, the police are trying to get some common ground, build a rapport, and make you feel comfortable. So also you need to understand, by this time in the interrogation, he does not know she's dead. No one knows she's dead. Hannah doesn't know she's dead. Alec doesn't know she's dead. The police, do they know that she's dead? Well, after the laughter, after talking about being a family man, after mansplaining how movies are made, after talking about being in 75 films, after he learns that a real bullet hit the shoulder of the director, they tell him that the cinematographer did not make it. And I gotta say, guys, interrogations aren't the most high definition thing, and they obviously don't have a camera close up to his face. But Alec Baldwin, if you thought he was upset after hearing a real bullet went through her and then into the director's shoulder, he is devastated, head and hands, hand over the mouth, utterly devastated and destroyed. Regardless of what you think about Alec Baldwin, politically or acting or whatever, totally legitimately devastated by the fact that a gun that he shot, whether by purpose or by accident, whatever, a gun that was in his hand went off and killed someone. I can't even imagine living with that day by day, even if it was an accident. Even if it was by no fault of your own, never pulled the trigger, only pulled the hammer back. That's what he says. I'm sure you can go on YouTube and watch a ton of videos on how you cannot fire a gun without pulling the trigger. I'm sure the videos are out there. Go ahead and watch them. I don't have an opinion. I haven't watched them. Regardless of whatever, this gun went off. And even if he did pull the trigger, he was handed a cold gun. Is he really responsible? Now, is he responsible as an individual? But he's also a producer on the movie. Is he responsible as a producer? Not a criminal suit, but a civil suit, like a wrongful death suit. You produced a movie who hired this person who is now deemed incompetent, let's just say. Let's just say they deem Hannah incompetent. She was 24 years old and not competent. She purposely cut corners, whatever, knowingly or unknowingly put live rounds and firearms on a movie set. How responsible is Alec Baldwin as a producer, not an individual? Because you can't really blame, he's an actor. He's on a movie set. He's learning lines. He's, figuring out where to stand. Someone says, here's a cold gun. Pull the trigger all day long. Nothing's going to happen. So he trusts that. That person's hired to do that. Just like when my mom sends that IV bag to a floor, that nurse hangs the bag. Now, I'm sure the nurse checks it. I'm sure there's another check and balance on the unit. But let's just say there isn't. The nurse trusts, the doctor trusts that when he tells the pharmacy, I need 10 mLs per unit on this IV. I'm slurring my words here. This Woodford Reserve is kind of hitting hard. This old fashioned on Tmps Nightcap. Slurring my words. Doctor orders a IV. Tech makes it. My mom checks it. Nurse hangs it. Patient gets it. Alec Baldwin is the actor. They hire an armorer, loads the gun, checks the gun, hands it to Alec, cold gun. He rehearses the scene. Now, Alec could have checked the gun. But does Alec know the difference between a real 45 and a fake one? That's the other thing. In medicine, it's a little more cut and dry. The doctor asks for 10 mLs per unit. This IV bag says 10 mLs per unit. Hang the bag and move on. Obviously making sure the drug is the same. You hand an actor a gun, he could take out all 6 bullets, look at them, say, oh, they're all fine, reload them. Well, now whose fault is it? This is really something. This is really, really something. But you know what's interesting to me? that a lot of these bullets came from a Nick Cage movie. We might have to dig deeper, people. We might have to go all the way back to the set of that Nicolas Cage film. And I really want to see that new Nick Cage film. The Unbearable Weight of Talent, or whatever the hell it is. The Unbearable Likeness of Being, or whatever the shit. Oh, you know what? Oh, no, I think I mentioned it. She showed up in a nicer outfit with no green hair and all that. Ghost Rider, dude. These bullets came from Ghost Rider. You know, I like Nick Cage. He's such a wackadoodle. That movie, I think it's Vampire's Kiss, where he recites the alphabet. And can you imagine, you're an actor, right? And you're given a script. And it's like, all you have to do is file them in the right order, you know, alphabetically. And then it's the alphabet. Right? And you have to read the alphabet as an actor. And go Google it. Go Google Nick Cage reading the alphabet, saying the alphabet in that movie. I think it's Vampire's Kiss. I think that's what the movie's called. It's hysterical. Now, his character's whacked out of his mind, thinks he's a vampire. So obviously, Nick Cage knew he could completely overact it. But the only way to say the alphabet in a movie, unless you're a little kid reciting it like a class scene in kindergarten or something, is to overdo it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I mean, he completely just overdoes it. And it's hysterical. I kind of want to like do like a Nick Cage movie marathon. Because, well, I don't think Nick Cage is underestimated or underappreciated as an actor. I think he's had some weird shit happen. It's like, didn't he lose all his money or something? But, you know, and they kind of allude to that in the, and I don't know if it's in the movie, but in the trailer for that new movie of his, when he sees the weird, like, wax figure. Oh, I saw Gone in 60 Seconds with my dad back in the day. Loved that movie. But he was mad because he had a certain car in that film and they showed how to steal his car. And he was like, man, they showed exactly if someone wants to steal my car, how to do it. And I was like, wow, I guess that's what you took away from the film, Dad. But so in that new movie, with the guy from The Mandalorian, like the Unbearable Weight of Talent or whatever, the guy, I guess, is like a billionaire. He's like a huge, like, Nick Cage fan. And he has this, like, wax figure of Nick Cage, I believe from Face Off, holding, like, 2 guns. And, you know, Nick Cage is, you know, in the trailer. Now, who knows? Sometimes what's in the trailer doesn't make the movie. Or, like, a different version of that scene will make the actual movie. He goes, is that supposed to be me? It's grotesque. I'll give you $20,000 for it. And I guess that's kind of like making fun of the fact that, you know, Nick Cage bought like 10 castles and, you know, he basically is a huge Elvis fan and married Elvis's daughter as like the biggest piece of memorabilia that you can have as an Elvis fan is marrying his daughter. And he did that. Like, you know what I mean? He's a wacky guy, but I would love to do a Nick Cage marathon because I just think his acting is so crazy. And I think that he's entering into maybe a renaissance in his career. I hear this new movie's really good. And we still have to ask Priscilla. That is very true. God, you're Elvis and you marry, oh. But anyway, so that's all I want to talk about. I'm going to have to watch the full. So there is another interrogation with Gutierrez, the armorer. Like I said in that one, she kind of, like, again, I feel a lot of what Hannah is doing is trying to maybe like pass some blame to other people. Yeah, like what is so special about Priscilla Presley? Like Elvis could have married anybody, but what's going on with Priscilla? It wasn't she like 12 or something? She was like young, right? She was like underage when like when they met. I'm like, she was like 15 or something. I'm like almost like certain about that. But again, at the end of the day, when you finally get a lawyer, the lawyer is going to be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to, tell me the whole story, what's going on. We got to start shifting some blame here. This isn't totally your fault. Okay, Elvis showing up at the White House and like, I'm here to meet Richard Nixon. And he's like, Elvis is like, I want to go undercover. I want to be like an undercover agent. And Nixon is like, okay. He has like I think he brought like a gun like into the White House or something. Can you imagine that? He wanted to like fight crime. Elvis wanted to be like Batman. He was like, I'm gonna fight crime in my white jumpsuit, doing karate moves. Can you imagine that, Jay? I'm gonna fight crime because I'm Elvis. Okay, first off, Elvis, how can you go undercover? You're Elvis. It's like Shaq being like a police officer. It's like Shaquille O'Neal like a police officer. Like Shaq, you can't pull me over. You're 7'2". I know it's you, Shaq. Like there's no going undercover with Shaquille O'Neal. You know what I mean? It's like how could Elvis possibly go undercover? He's Elvis. He's like, hey man, you got some drugs? Yeah, literally the most famous person in the United States at the time. He's like, Elvis, is that you? He goes, no, man, my name's Jim, and I'm here to buy some drugs from you. It's like I'm pretty sure that you're Elvis Presley undercover to try to bust drug people. I think that's what it was. I think it was drugs. He was like, listen, President Nixon, I'm like the hippest, coolest guy in the world. If you want someone to help you fight crime, it's me because I can get in with all the young people and they trust me. All right, well, you are Elvis. So how can you remotely go undercover or at all and wasn't Elvis doing a bunch of drugs? No, I think Elvis did like prescription drugs. I don't know Elvis's history with like illegal drugs. I think he was more like doing all the prescription drugs, though. Who knows? I don't know. Oh, I like Elvis. I mean, I don't have like Elvis on my walls and stuff. I don't have like figurines of him or anything, but he was a really talented performer. Have you guys ever watched Elvis impersonators? There's this like Sean Cush is his name. I don't know how I remember that. His name was Sean Cush. He is the official, or was, I don't know if he still is, but he was the official Priscilla Presley approved Elvis impersonator. He won some big competition, literally the official Elvis impersonator. And they were interviewing someone who like was part of Elvis's like crew. And he goes, I was backstage at one of Sean Cush's shows, and I literally thought Elvis was still alive. I thought he was on stage. This guy is so good at capturing all of the little, not only looking like him and sounding like him, but capturing those little things that Elvis did. Looking back at the band, or how he moved, or how he held the microphone. That if you're not paying attention, you would think Elvis is actually on stage. Wow. The king, man. I might start dressing like him. I wonder if he had a Cartier. I wonder if Elvis had a watch collection. I'm sure he had some timepieces. That video of Mario Andretti showing his watch collection, he like didn't buy any of them. So, watch manufacturers are a big sponsor of like racing. And Andretti like wins a race and gets like a Rolex or a Tissot or an Oma. I mean, I don't remember all of them, but he's like, here's this famous classic watch. Oh, I didn't buy. I was given this watch by the sponsor because I like won a race. Yeah, he just kept winning. Yeah, like every time he won a race or something, he was given a watch by Tissot or Tag Heuer or it might have just been Heuer at the time. I think he had a Heuer. I'm pretty sure it was that video where it wasn't a Tag Heuer yet. It was just a Heuer. I have a Heuer. It just says Heuer on it. A Heuer 2000 or something. It was my father's. Yeah, so it doesn't say Tag on it yet. That was later that they came together apparently. But yeah. All right, well, guys, thank you so much for checking into TMPS Nightcap. I'm going to make another drink and get ready for bed. Facebook, thank you so much. Listen, this Woodford, I'm like, I can't even speak. I gotta stop drinking. All right, guys, Facebook, thank you so much for watching. Let's shut that down before we shut down the YouTube. Only a couple people watching. Oh, I guess that'll only say for 30 days. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. Okay. What is Kelsey up to? What is she commenting on? Dude, I think we should have Kelsey on the show. What do you think? All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching TMPS Nightcap. Remember to head over to tmpspodcast.com and we will see you next time.